It's a cool intro video. I like it.
Thank you, man. We're a little behind. We're supposed to update every time there's a new one. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in tonight. We are coming at you live we're just doing something different today. Having a little bit of fun. We've got Mike Mihealsick in the house. Mike, thanks for coming down and joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we thought Mike's Kickstarter is rocking it right now. Live on the YouTubes, or on the Kickstarter, I guess. We're live on YouTube. I think we're live. I'm going to check in just a second. And our goal really tonight is to just hang out, have some fun, talk about the game. The group of us here at Tantrum House just had a chance to play through a couple rounds of it, which we got to finish up after this. We can't be just leaving it hanging.
Right.
I got missions I got to complete here. But we've got Mike in town hanging out, showing us the game. His Kickstarter is killing it right now. We know we've got a bunch of people who are tuning in live to join us. And what we really want to do is give you guys an opportunity to ask some questions. Well, I've got some questions I want to ask you. And as soon as I see this live on here, I'll stop messing with my phone. We're also going to be using this recording for our podcast next week. So this will be recut. We'll trim it just a little bit. We'll throw it into the podcast. So you'll be able to hear it there as well. If you see this live, you get to hear the whole episode where we'll talk about it a bunch more next week when that comes out. But we thought we'd take an opportunity to just hang out tonight for a little bit, say hi, and see what the peoples are up to. So I'm trying to find it. Oh, it might be here. Is this it? Are we live? I think we are. Cool. I get a cool ad. But yeah, I see that Game Trace is watching us. Jeremiah's out there. Michael, Nishant, thank you guys for tuning in and having some fun with us tonight. We are talking about the game Forsaken. This is I'm going to let you do some describing because...
No, you've been doing so well. So
have I? I've just been winging it. That's how I'm
just going to hang out.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out and hanging out. Let's just have a little conversation. That'll be fine. You tell us where you drove in from.
I drove in from Raleigh, North Carolina, so about 4 hours.
Okay, awesome. So
Not
we're
too
in
bad.
upstate Greenville, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Not too far of a hop across the pond.
Yeah.
The pond, I don't know what pond that was, but you know, there could be ponds.
I saw a pond on the way.
At least one pond. There's some lakes out there too. Yeah, people are asking questions already. This is excellent. This is going to be a good time. All right, I can't wait. Really good time. This is a different format. We don't ever do this normally. We do podcast recordings, but not live. So thank you for coming, being a house guest.
Absolutely. I can't wait to be your most awkward guest and also your first guest.
This will be perfect. Let's set all the bars very mediocrely. And then we're good.
Yes.
Your
All
Kickstarter
from here.
has been live for the week.
Yeah.
And congratulations.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. We're really happy. I mean, this is our first project that we're launching through Game Trays, and of course, I mean, we've all seen Game Trays and a million games out there, right? This was a big project for us because it really determined like the trajectory for Game Trays Lab. Like, are we going to be able to continue making games? And I think so far the answer is yes. Like, I think we're all really happy with this in house, and it's going to be a cool game. I look forward to writing and making all these encounters and weird things for the next 40 years of my life. So
that's good. That's a good goal. This is the type of game that definitely lends itself to that. So let me give a 2-second summary of what it is, and then you can give us a little more rundown as well.
Yeah.
This is a sandbox game, sci-fi. We've got a bunch of characters that we are growing and building and living through, which is very cool. A lot of even just a little bit that we've played so far, really interesting choices in the game.
Yeah.
Beyond just where do I go, how do I travel, how do I get money, how do I buy weapons, all these things. There's a lot of interactions and are the events? What do we call them in the game? The choices that we get to make.
Yeah, the encounters and also your personal story arc too. Yeah, the characters are just so weird too. That's
right, very unique.
They're all from Travis Chance's bizarre mind. He's just creating things out there and just all these strange characters. And they really fill up the world and make it feel like it lives and breathes. So.
It really does. I'm playing a robot character right now who is working on. Basically, his owner has left him with some freedom to potentially go out and make a man of himself. I don't know if the robots make men of themselves. And it's a really cool arc so far, and it's just the first couple of choices. Give us a little bit of a rundown. The first question, well, I'll come back to some of these questions, because we need to cover a little bit more of the game first.
Sure.
Although, good job. Keep asking questions. I'm working on them. Give us just a little bit of the history on where this game came from, where it's at right now, and you kind of mentioned maybe 40 years of writing in the future. Give us all three, past, present, future.
Yeah, 40 years it's optimistic.
Okay.
I'm hoping it's less than 40. But no, like so this studio. I mean, the really like the origin of Forsaken itself, and also the origin of the studio is like all kind of. It's all part of the same thing, right? So a couple years ago, Travis Chance ended up leaving Colossal Games. He ended up getting together with Noah at Game Trays. Noah Adelman has been running Game Trays since he founded it. He's been running it since I think 2013. and he's been making all kinds of plastic inserts. Travis puts his head together with Noah, and Travis is very, very convincing. He could talk me into eating glass probably.
Oh,
and
delicious.
He probably has. So
He probably has. We'll save that story for later.
Yeah. Tell us more about that. No, so he sat down with Noah and he's like, "Hey, you should make a game." And Noah's like, "Yeah, okay."
Great idea. Great idea.
Right. So, and it does make sense because Noah has, he has a lot of allies in the community. He has, he's done great work for a lot of people, and he knows, pretty much everyone. So, like, it's, you have feet in all the right doors. You have, the brand that people can recognize. You get the runway, and he said, yeah, let's do this. So, cool. Then Travis ended up getting on with Simon. He's now one of their senior designers, I believe. And of course, he wasn't able to kind of fill that same kind of role at Game Trace. So I had worked with Travis a couple times before. I helped to develop a little bit on Ruination, which is one of his designs through Colossal. Ruination is a really, really cool game. I definitely recommend checking that out. And so like he had known me. We've worked together a couple times, and he says this is probably the guy. He's very inexpensive. He'll work for peanuts, and and he responds to emails, so that puts him above the curve. So yeah, we started on this like late in 2020.
Okay.
And then early 2021-ish is kind of when we started really full swing on the other studio. I think you said a couple of short questions, and I'm just taking all the time in the world to answer this. So
perfect. You're doing great.
Right. So yeah, we started with that, and I've been full time with Game Trays since March or April of 2021. And this has been our sole pursuit this entire time. Forsaken has been, it's a massive game. You were seeing over there. There's tons of content.
Yes.
You have hundreds and cards and bits and pieces that you don't even use in the game until they're called on by the story. So like. All
right, good segue. So one of the questions was, how many asset index interactions are there? Do you know?
Asset index interaction. Right now we have 3. And we are, I believe we're going to have more soon. The asset index, this is something I mentioned in a comment. Yeah. And I know exactly where this came from, by the way. Michael Allen Porter, you're my hero. You made this wonderful. It's been great to have your support. So, but yeah, the indexes are, they're like little bundles of cards in the reserve. The reserve is like a set of components all set aside that are only called into the game when you have them specifically mentioned by story moments. So if you make a choice, then like, oh, now we're adding in this card or this little token or this little bit, whatever, right? The indexes are just like little random sets of cards in that like maybe if you trade from a little trader called Quidmonk, he's one of our little recurring characters. You might pull a card from that little random index and get that. So yeah, 3 indexes so far, and those little subsets of cards in the reserve, and I believe we have one more planned.
So obviously this box is gigantic. There's tons of fantastic art in there. I saw some questions about the art. The fact that like this is Game Tray HQ, right? So all the pieces, I think we do have some pictures that we are going to maybe show you guys if you can figure out how to do that. We'll try to get some pictures up for you to look at. The game is, it's built around you having this awesome tray that has a million places to tuck components and cards and for you to flip things and add things, and so the setup is, it just looks gorgeous on the table.
Right.
I'm assuming once it's in the box, it's all going to just like come out in this magic cascading thing.
Right.
And then, as you mentioned, the indexes, and then like just there's so many additional pieces that you were saying, like you only interact with these pieces if your card tells you to do so. And so I think this is going to be, this isn't the final box size, which is larger than I am. However, it is going to be a big box game that's going to take you hours and hours and hopefully hours of adventure as you're digging through these different pieces. You mentioned that there are some stretch goals on the campaign to me. So give us a little bit of a view of, you're going to get the whole game, obviously. What is like the end game picture that we hope to see once we hit those goals?
All right, so gosh, all this stuff in the game is just the core game. There's a ton, right? We have 2 expansions that are available during the campaign. We can add those on. Each of those has a bundle more content, a lot more story cards, that sort of thing, and then it also has 2 new characters. And you think like, oh, character, that's just like a mini and a card or whatever. No, it's like it's a full set of. It's like a player board. It's the story deck. It's the feat decks. It's like dozens of entries in the encounter guide. It is their custom gear. It's a lot of different things. So every character is like a whole ordeal, right? Yeah, exactly. For the stretch goals, we've unlocked 1 character so far.
Already? Congratulations. Way to
those
go.
are first stretch goals.
Let's get that second one out there, y'all.
we not that I know.
Oh, I don't know what we're talking about.
I don't know.
This is going to be live on the podcast in 2 weeks, so if you're hearing it now, just pretend like it's recorded in the future.
Right. Yeah. So those other stretch goals that we already unlocked from the future.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot more coming. We have daily reveals every day.
Oh, cool.
I don't know what other kind of reveals they would be called daily if they weren't every day. But anyways, so we've also had a couple of stretch goals, like funding goals, and also social goals. So, you know, everybody's been really great in the community, smashing likes and subscribes across every platform. BGG has been crazy. We've been on the hotness for like 3 days in a row now.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. That's congrats on that. That's fantastic. I'm glad we're doing the show today instead of tomorrow. But this is great that you are on the top of the hot list right now. That's
as we speak. 2
awesome.
weeks from now, this will be old news. But you know,
cool. Let me toss a couple questions at you since they're coming in, and then I do have plenty more questions for you too. But one, Michael also asked, "What is your favorite piece of lore that you worked on?"
A piece of lore.
Is that
Okay.
in this game specifically? I'm gonna go. Let's go game specifically.
All right, we'll say this one. So my favorite encounter in the guide, the lore is like it's 130,000 words. That's our projection on it, right? It's a lot. Yeah, it's like more than a novel, right? So my favorite encounter is a encounter that your character has. I'm not gonna.
Oh no, it's spoiling. I'm taking the headphones off. You keep listening.
You're probably not going to run into it because it only comes up once in like every 20 games you play.
Oh, okay, wow.
But there are these character-specific encounter cards. So if you draw that specific card with a specific character, then it has like every character has their own section in the encounter guide that you read that from. We saw one of those when we were playing, right?
Yeah.
So like it mentions your character by name, so every character has a different entry for this one card, which was a great idea when it came to writing. That's why I'm gonna be here for 40 years.
Yeah.
40 years. So my favorite encounter is one that Mandarax has, and Mandarax is this pod. He's like a droid, and he's trying to like kind of invent himself and kind of find his humanity, right? And it's like a short little paragraph where Mandarax like finds this three-legged dog just like out in the wasteland.
Okay.
And it's actually based on Noah actually has and fosters three-legged dogs.
Oh, cool.
So, 4 legs, they're out. They're on their own. But with the three-legged dog, it's based on Noah's actual pet. And in this passage, it's just like Mandarax doesn't really know what to make of this dog, and he's just kind of like evaluating it from like, and it's written in like a very clinical, like you can tell it's like it's not a human that's like thinking these things.
Right.
But then in the end, it's just like he just builds a room before this dog into himself, and he just like invents this and says like, you know what, I now value dogs. And he just picks up a stick and throws it, and just, the dog follows him around. It's like a little gear card that you can get.
Love it.
And now you have a dog, and that's it.
That's cool. That's real cool. I've very much enjoyed even just a little bit of a glimpse that we've gotten, because I do get the feeling that these characters are going to be things that you fall in love with over time, and you're like, man, I made these decisions. I got to where this guy's at. I'm really curious to see what the interactions look like between individual players and how that carries on over time.
Right.
What's been your, I mean, obviously you guys have playtested this millions of times. What are some of the unique pieces of feedback maybe that you didn't expect to get during your playtests?
Oh, unique. I mean, I think that expected feedback is boring.
Right, for sure.
Right, it's like, yeah, of course. I think
this game is what I thought it would be.
Right, yeah. So I think that, like, I mean, a lot of the feedback that we act on is the unexpected stuff, is the things that the questions we didn't know to ask, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like a good moment, because there's been plenty.
Well, let me buy you time for a second, because you think of a great one, and I'll tell a quick story. I've had opportunities to hang out with Mike a number of times in the past. We've been at other board game conventions, and I'll say that I was very impressed the first time we met, or not even the first time we met, but the first time I really remember hanging out with you was at our Tantrum Con, like the first year, I think. And we play tested somebody's game, I don't even remember whose it was, and we got done, and I remember them asking the question for feedback. They were like, what feedback do you guys have now that you had a chance to play it? And I was like, yeah, this looks great. This icon, I would change a little bit. That's all I got.
The graphic designer, yeah.
Right, exactly. However, Mike jumped in with like a 30-minute explanation. Hi, Google. Thanks for jumping in.
English is plural G's. It represents the voiced bilabial stop.
Oh, it's so long. What have you heard?
Including English. In some other languages,
Hey, Google.
it is used to...
Stop. Thanks. And I remember Mike jumped in with some feedback, and it honestly literally blew my mind. It was the first time I had heard a real game designer explain, and I don't even remember what it was exactly that you explained, but it was like you went so much deeper than I had fun or I didn't have fun. And
just yelled at someone for 30 minutes and we'll, oh yeah, good job.
Correct. But that interaction with you gave me the opportunity to recognize that there are so many different ways to just even approach a game. And I remember specifically thinking like, oh, it's not all about did I have fun at the end or did I win or did I lose. A lot of it really is the player interaction as you are literally like falling in love with these characters that you're interacting with, and taking it to that level where there's like an actual, like the goal is an emotional connection to this game. How do I create that? What way does that come about? And I've seen you pour that into a number of other games before. So that is kind of where that question came from.
Yeah.
And now it's your turn. Did I buy you enough time?
No.
I don't even remember what
I was
was.
busy listening.
I've gone off so far.
Very active listener.
That was good.
What else we got?
What else we got? All right, let's see what some of the comments are coming in from our live YouTube viewers. Thank you guys for tuning in. People are loving the dog story. Like, yep. People are trying to help Google stop in the background.
Yep.
I hear that Noah has pigs. That's a comment that everyone at home needs to know.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Honestly, it's the most interesting fact about anybody on the entire Game team. Noah does have 3 pigs. Their names are Stella, Francine, and Jeffrey.
Whoa, he knows the names of all the pigs. That's
I mean,
impressive.
how could I forget them?
I think that's true. Those were great names.
I laugh every time I think about them. I don't know why. I'm delighted by their names.
I heard, is it him or Travis? Who has the hedgehog? That was also
yeah, Noah has a hedgehog.
But he doesn't like it.
He doesn't like the hedgehog. You don't ask him about the hedgehog; he'll get mad. That's another thing that cracks me up too. Is this hedgehog? He says it doesn't do anything. It's usually you walk in the room and it just curls up in a ball.
Can you like roll it down a hill and like around a 360 curve? That's what I'd be trying to do.
Right.
If you're going to be in a ball, just at least move. We are hopefully going to be able to finish our round of this game playthrough tonight. How much longer is the game going to be on Kickstarter? Do you know what the closing?
Yeah, September 29th.
Okay, so you guys have a little bit of time for sure. Hopefully we'll be able to get a link into the comments as well so you can get to the campaign from here. We are going to finish playing tonight. We'll hopefully get some more content out to you guys later this week as well. And we super appreciate you coming up to do this. I'm going to give people more opportunities to... Oh, here we go. Here's a question right now.
I'm ready.
What mechanic is Forsaken... What mechanic in Forsaken are you the most proud of? Or what was your aha moment in the game design?
Gosh, the most... I mean, I think like mechanically the way that we're finding to inject all the stories probably the most remarkable thing. But the thing I'm going to talk about instead,
okay,
is all right. So this is something that Travis and I were like, we knew we wanted to build like a really like a narrative game that's focused on the theme. We kind of want the mechanics and stuff to kind of we don't want them taking up the front and center stage, right?
Right.
So like we're talking about things that are part of like traditionally like part of Euro games, like in this you have like cubes that you take from a bag and like, oh, I will spend this currency to acquire things. Yep. Right, give me value, right? And that's stuff that like we want to be in the game because it's fun to like get upgrades and like kind of evolve as you play. So that sort of stuff is like it's necessary to a degree, but like we didn't want this to be an economic game,
right?
We don't want this to be like, how can I maximize my profit margins?
Yeah, I'm just gonna pick up and deliver and get paid. And that's all I'm here for.
And I don't know how we ended up on this. It was either Travis or me or one of us or maybe both of us. But like eventually we had this little scrounge mechanic where you just draw cubes out of a bag, and like 25% of them are yellow and they're worth double value. And then the rest are gray and they're worth like $1, right? So like $1 bill versus $2 bill. And you're like, sure, that seems fine, right? It's very, very like low to the ground. It's not really like anything that takes up space in the player's mind. But every time someone draws in the bag, they feel something. If they draw like 3 gray cubes and they don't draw any yellows, they're like, why have I been forsaken? That's the name of the game.
Oh, that's what you can get a tagline in there.
Right. And then if you draw like 2 cubes and they're both yellows, then like it's just...
the best scrounge ever.
It's the most emotional moment in the game, and which makes me feel like my writing has been entirely upstaged. But whatever, it's fine. 40 years, yellow cubes, it's fine.
I love it. So he didn't exaggerate that at all. It was literally my experience. I was like, I can go fulfill this mission. However, what I really want to do right now is scrounge 2 gold cubes. That's all I want to achieve.
Scrounge 5? Yeah, no golds, come on!
That's hilarious. What is your favorite character design in the game so far?
Oh, okay. So the character design and the kit and stuff is one thing, and then there's like the character story.
2 questions. Yeah, I like it.
So I don't know. I think my favorite character design is, I think it's Mandarax, like the kit for Mandarax.
I picked the right one.
Yeah.
I knew it. I could tell.
One cool thing about Mandarax, and I like the thing I like best is the way that it interweaves with this story, because Mandarax has these routine cards, and they're like his gear. And any character has gear, but they can kind of play them and then recover them later. You can only have a maximum of 5 gear in hand, right? But Mandarax does a thing where he has these routine cards, which are like kind of like a virtual thing, and this represents like the decisions that he's making and like how he's like coding himself and inventing himself over the course of the game. The coolest part to me is every time you make a choice in your storyline, you're gonna get one routine or another, right? So like, based on your decision in your storyline so far, you chose to forsake all the meat bags, and you said, I'm out. I'm not relying on anybody. I don't need any help. I'm gonna do this all on my own.
Me and the robots gonna be friends,
right? So you got a routine that's your self-preservation. This represents the choice that you made. You said, I'm gonna rely on myself. But if you'd chosen the other path, not that I want to spoil this for you, but you would get I don't remember exactly what the name of it is, but it's like a different one. Instead of like helping you in combat, it's like it helps kind of outside of combat, and you're more of a gentle fuzzy man.
Oh, cool. So, good to know. I'm going to be destroying things.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome. And then, okay, so that was your favorite character story and design? Did they fall in the same one? Is it the best?
That one was
that
was the character kit that I think I liked.
Okay.
Just because he's super versatile. He's like still throwing out all these gear cards, and just like rolling through combos and stuff like that. He's the one that I have most fun playing. He's also very frail, so he'll fall apart.
Good strategies.
Yeah, watch out.
Taking notes right now.
As far as the character story, I think my favorite is going to be a character in one of the expansions. His name is Killquick Quipsalok.
Whoa.
All right, this guy, he is like very short. He's from a genetically engineered species that was made by the Imperiad, which is like this faction that threw the whole planet in the trash can, right? They left a while ago. But this species is like basically indestructible, right? And they're created to like do work, so they're just like hazardous jobs. They just go in, whatever, can't be destroyed. They just regenerate, just right? Yeah. Right. So this character Killquick, he has like 200 years ago, he like collapsed a mine on himself so he could get out of work.
Brilliant.
Right. He's like, that's it. I'm done with all this.
Crash.
And then like 200 years later, as the events of the game begin, some poor sod, they like dig him up accidentally, and then they watch him like regenerate. And he's like, oh, not again. So
that's hilarious.
So his whole story is like he like has this genetic marker that like compels him to like report for work. So he's like, everybody else is gone. He's like, of course, I'm the only one on shift here. He's very grumpy. So
I love it. That's super funny.
Right.
I got a great question here. Okay, and I'll botch it to start off with. How do you pronounce Giksu Geksu?
It's Giksu Geksu.
Giksu Getsu.
Yeah,
was I close?
I believe in you.
How do you come up with these memorable character names?
Honestly, if you ask Travis at any point in the day or night, anytime, it doesn't matter what he's in the middle of doing, if you're like, hey, I need a name for this, he will come up with it in literally 1 second.
It just immediately just comes out.
Immediately, right.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. He probably made 95% of the names in the game.
Wow.
Just
straight off the top. This is the name. He's not like Googling secret meanings in another language.
Maybe he is.
In his mind.
I don't know what his process is.
What character took the longest or shortest to design?
I think the shortest
Are they
probably...
done? 40 years. 40 years is how long
exactly. I think the shortest design was Grash, because Grash is relatively straightforward. Grash is a character with a lot of vitality, and as long as she has most of her vitality with her, she just gets an extra action each turn, right? So she tends to be a little bit linear.
Joe's been getting an extra turn every action. That's why. It makes sense now. I didn't read his board. I didn't know why I was getting so much stuff accomplished.
Right. It's like, God, what time is it? Done with your turn? Yeah. So Grash is pretty linear. The longest one, I think, like, we have flip-flopped a lot on Zoda's kit. Zoda's kit revolves around Infamy, and Infamy is not something you've experienced yet.
No, I did see a card in there, and I was like, what is this card mean? Infamy.
Yeah. So Infamy, the more Infamy you have, the more of a target you are for other players. If you do bad stuff, you just like accumulate these cards, and then if they fight you, you lose all but one of your Infamy, and then they get rewards based on that. So it just makes you like the first person to kick your butt, then they get a big bonus. So
see how it is.
So like trying to figure out like the right pace for her to generate Infamy and also capitalize on it, and like the best way to kind of work that in. It was a little bit tricky, so we had to go around on that a few times.
That's pretty cool. Can you give us any more details about 9?
Geez, what details have we
not
shared about 9?
These are good questions. These are like top secret things.
Yeah, right. I'm trying to think here. So, so Nine, a little bit of background.
Yeah,
about
tell me
her.
in general.
She is like a pop star, and she's vat grown. She's part of like this dream band. And a while back, they were flying over Etheria, and their ship was shot out of the sky, right? And
She alone survives.
she does, but if you look at her illustration, she's like this like torso, and she's in this huge mech suit with like this chainsaw arm, and it has like a big gun, it has like a big rubber ducky sticker on like one of these, like it's crazy. It looks insane, right? And that's Nine, and she just like the viral amalgam in her heart, it like pieced together all the wreckage from the ship,
Wow.
and like just made her this thing. It's like, oh, I'll repair you, and it did that. So now she's like out for vengeance, and she's trying to find out like who did this, and like it's a weird. Yeah, it's strange.
Awesome.
So,
Okay, wait. Now, is that one of the main characters, the expansion character? Is
that was our
built
stretch
into the
goal
story?
character.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So that's
gotcha.
only available through the lab limited stuff through the Kickstarter campaign, and then we will. It's never going to be seen like wide retail distribution.
Okay, cool. Tell us a little bit more about the campaign in general. This is Game Tray's first published game, right?
Yeah.
No, that's very cool. Usually, I don't know, I'm just making up stuff, but usually publishers have like a couple games in the queue that they're working on for the next couple of years. You said this was pretty much all consuming. Do you have any idea what the plans are for Game Trays in the future? What can we expect in the...
So I mean, like Forsaken is informing our future, right? So like, we haven't like committed hard to any plans yet, but we have some ideas. So like there are a few games that I know of, nothing that we've signed yet, but a few games that I know that I feel like fit the brand, fit the audience, that sort of thing. What I'd like to do, and this isn't even anything final. This is I'm just throwing out
spitballing
ideas.
cool ideas here.
Right. What I'd like to do is have like one retail game a year and then one Kickstarter game a year.
Okay, awesome.
And I'd like for the Kickstarter game to probably feed the same audience as Forsaken, depending on what we decide after the campaign. Kind of big box sort of stuff. Show off what Game Trays can do. Just a decadent price point probably. You get a lot and you pay a lot, right? For the retail stuff, we're looking at more toy oriented, more mass market. We're trying to like just go from zero to Azul as fast as possible. Just make something that's just going to sell over and over again, right? So that's what I'd like to do, but again, we haven't decided. So
now, one thing that I'm curious about is I've seen a lot of games in the past who they exist on their own, and then Game Trays comes in, and like, I mean, I don't think anybody argues against this. Like, it ups the gaming experience. As you were building this game, were you thinking? I mean, does your brain work in trays already, or like
to a degree? I mean, yeah.
What's the like the team up look like there? Is it like just this is what the game mechanics are, and then Travis comes in and is like, dude, or not Travis, Noah just comes in like, does it need to be like this, or is it like collaborative? What is that experience like?
So like we're still figuring that out. For Forsaken, we just kind of made a mess of it, and it's just all worked out. I mean, the game it's obviously like a ton of stuff, so it is kind of a mess, but also in a very good way, like in the best possible way, right? So like for Forsaken, we were kind of skinning our knees through that process. We were obviously like thinking about trays and plastics from the start.
Yeah.
And I think we probably could have done a better job of like bringing Noah's influence in earlier. But as we did, he was rolling with ideas, and we just kind of rolled with it and kind of evolved it to where it is now. So I mean, it's been cool. I think for our next couple projects, we're going to bring Noah in much sooner and just have his ideas, and maybe even like as the foundation. Like, Noah, what's the coolest thing you can imagine in a game? And he's like, I don't know, what about this? Like a spinning top that shoots out marbles.
I'm ready.
And we're like, okay, we're making that. How do we do this? So like, I think that's where I'd like to end up. But for Forsaken, we built most of the game first, and thinking about game trays the whole time, of course, from the ground up. And I think it's worked out well too.
Yeah. I mean, the planetary system is an interesting concept, and you've got kind of those different levels, and it really gives you a more dimensional. I mean, if it was just cardboard on the table, the gameplay, I'm sure, would be just as great. The story is super deep, but being able to hop around and move the things and have everything organized, I mean, that game tray concept really does kind of take it to another level, which is interesting, and I'm excited to see that becoming something that will be standard in you guys' games, I assume, and then as more people see this kind of stuff and experience it, I'm sure it's going to get added to other games that are out there as well.
Keep on one-upping ourselves. Yeah.
Right, yeah, no pressure, but if you could do that every time, we'd all appreciate it.
One of the things that's been most exciting about working with game trays is like the idea that we can add like a third dimension to the table interface. Like these character boards, there's a ton of information like surrounding it and on it and everything, but like it's all condensed and organized in such a way that like we can add in a little bit more like kind of front-loaded information
Yeah.
that you might not have been able to find the space for, like the complexity budget, if that makes sense, for that sort of stuff in another game. So like we have a lot there, but it's well presented and it's nice and it's in front of you and you know where everything is. So.
Yeah, I mean, even just the where to put your character at to start off with is like, oh, this right here. Now I know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really can be interesting stuff. Let me see. I got a couple more questions in here. One of them says, how much story interactions are there for the class modules?
Story interactions for the class modules.
Not 100% sure what Michael means out there. You need to clarify, Michael. Let us know.
Yeah, Michael.
How much story interactions? I mean, even just the interactions of Ryan drew my card that involved my character, so I'm listening at like, what decision is Ryan going to make on that's going to affect me, type of thing.
Right. The class modules you replace your entire story set and your feats.
Okay.
So all your story cards, all your feat cards, and then also all of the vignettes, all those moments for your personal storyline, right? So like instead of like you still get to be Grash, but instead of being Grash on the I'm here to find a reminder of what fear feels like, instead of that specific storyline, you take out all that and all the branches and everything, you just unplug that and plug in a class module instead. So the class module is like just like a different storyline. It can be plugged into any character, so it's like it's not as specific to the character, but they're also like it has all the same moments. So like, you know how you got to your second chapter and in that little vignette you made a change to the world. You shuffled that card in, and that card came up later and it told another story, and there was like a permanent change that we had, right? Every class module has those same moments in all the vignettes.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Michael is he's lighting it up.
I know. He's been like our biggest supporter. He's on all of our comments. He's like starting threads on BGG, like sharing our links. I promise we're not paying this guy.
Yeah. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right.
Michael says, Encounter book series?
Encounter book series.
Book entries.
Oh, book entries.
But I think you should write a book too. A series of books.
I mean, I already have.
Right, you have. You literally have.
For those on the podcast, I looked in the camera with a haunted look. So the encounter, I think he's asking about his previous question with the class modules.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so it's the same number of the encounter entries on the book. It's actually going to be more because the character modules, they have 2 branching outcomes, and the class modules have 4. So they kind of direct you along the path, but they have different things. So there are multiple different vignettes that you see in there. So basically, like this, I think it's like 1 or 2 more of those encounter entries, and then also 2 more finale outcomes for every class module.
Okay.
So than the normal class.
Okay, here's a fun one. What is one game you wish you had designed?
Oh, just one?
Yeah, just
not the
one.
game. I mean, just that is a game I wish I
one
designed.
that- oh, just
Only
one?
one. I got a whole list of them. There are games that I look at and like I'll sit down and play them, and I'll think to myself, why didn't I do this?
Yeah, I've definitely played somewhere I'm like, why didn't this exist already?
Yeah.
I can't actually think of a specific one now, but I've definitely had that experience where I play it and I'm like, this game should have existed 10 years ago.
I play it, I'm like, this is so smart, and I am so dumb. For me, the games on that list are For Sale. I think that game is genius.
It is very
If
cool.
you haven't played it, just go get it. It's just buy it. Don't listen to anybody else.
No regrets.
It's a game with like just 2 back-to-back auctions, and that's pretty much it. And like it's just really streamlined, really simple, like really smart, good design. Another one for me is Hanamakoji because it's just mathematically perfect.
Kevin sneaking
this
in.
guy. So, but I mean, those are like the 2.
I don't think I played Hanamakoji. What is that one?
Oh,
keep going, give me more.
That one's
I
from
gotta go buy that
Emperor
one, too.
S4 Games,
Okay.
and it is a game. It's a 2-player game. It borrows a little bit from Battle Line, where you're just trying to get like the tokens on your side.
Okay.
But you have this deck of cards that have like suits and numbers, and the suits are like the different little locations, or it's the geisha that you're trying to sway to perform at your establishment, right? So like you might play their little musical instrument, they'll bring them over to your side or whatever, right? But the idea is that like they have. It's so hard to explain it. Like it's hard to. I can explain the game really fast, but what's explaining like the special thing about like the genius about it?
Right.
Those little geisha cards, they have a color and a number on them, and that's the number is the value. If you get like X or more value on your side, or if you get 4 of the 7 on your side, that's how you win.
Okay.
So there's a deck of 21 cards, and then like the number on the geisha, that's the number of times that card appears in the deck. So like the red 3, 3 of those appear in the deck, and you know exactly. So you have like the perfect count, but then the way the cards are played, there's like a little action selection system, and it's just like really, really smart. It's good.
Oh, cool. I'll have to check that one out. I don't remember who asked the question, but I saw it in here earlier. What was one of your favorite builds, like as far as the dimensional pieces that are being used in the game trays?
Oh, the pieces themselves? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, I think the character tray is like, that's the centerpiece. Like, I love the character tray. It just does everything. It arranges it in like different layers, and it just looks awesome. But also, I mean, there's the dice tower. I'm just going to name all the components of the game.
Yeah.
There's the dice tower, which is like, that's kind of our unique piece, or like our center, like our toy factor kind of thing. Like,
right.
it's you can't play without it, but it's also like interesting. So that's kind of the sweet spot we're looking for.
Now we're obviously playing with the prototype. Just what are the legs on the final version? Because that's impressive.
So that is actually, so if y'all haven't seen some of our videos, you might notice in the videos there's like little screws that are holding up the dice tower. It looks like it's kind of weirdly angled, right? That dice tower is one of Noah's first attempts at making it. So this prototype is like really early.
Gotcha.
And the screws are there because we wanted to calibrate that and just have that option
height
for the copies that we sent out to reviewers and stuff. So
gotcha.
Just in case that it wasn't like perfect as as we were expecting, we had those screws. We did actually need to tilt them up a little bit to slow them out as they were coming out. But yeah, the final one won't need that.
Well, I hope someday it does exist because it's awesome.
We're thinking
Adjust
of
the
that for, like,
difficulty on how likely you are to beat the bad guy by basing it on the
Right,
leg
yeah.
height of the catching tray.
3 turns clockwise. Now roll.
Your power up card allows you to tip the whole thing. That's awesome.
Right.
Somebody asked the question, what was the game that got you into the hobby?
So I think like the game that I remember playing when I was first into board games, like hobby tabletop. I've been playing, some form
Monopoly
of-
and Scrabble
yeah,
growing up, right?
Right. I mean, mainly Magic the Gathering.
Oh,
I
okay,
remember
yeah.
I started Magic when it first came out. I traded a Time Walk for a Thicket Basilisk. Yeah. But in my first little starter deck, I opened one up and just traded right away. Anyways, that's my sad story. Yes.
Still,
Tell
right
everyone
here.
about it. Yeah.
Was Magic the one that got you into it? What was the?
Magic got me to the table, right? Like that was my first big. I guess I played Dungeons and Dragons as well before that, and this is a fun fact about me. I played D&D for the first time when I was in the 2nd grade, and my first character was named Spike.
Wow.
And my second character was named Spike Jr.
Love it. Good trivia right there. Excellent.
So that's cool.
A lot of D&D growing up, or was it like you tried it out? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I played from 2nd grade up until probably like just after high school.
Okay.
And then I just kind of fell out of it for some reason. But for me, like my gateway board game, like my hobby board game, I think was Citadels.
Ah,
And
okay. Yeah.
that's I know that it's not as popular. You don't see it getting a lot of play anymore, and it's kind of the sensibilities in the hobby I think have evolved a little bit since 2000. But
Sure.
also it was a really fun game for the time, and I still enjoy it a little bit. It's
What was the part that usually, at least for me, I remember there was like the light bulb moment of like, what? I don't have to just flip a card or roll
Yeah.
a die. Like there are decisions that can be made in this game that I never came before. What was it about Citadels that was like?
I think like the most fun part about Citadels for me is trying to guess who everyone is and try and kind of that Vicini moment of the iocane powder kind of puzzle of like, oh, did they take this or did they perhaps clearly the glass is in front of me, right? So I just like those moments. Those are fun.
Excellent stuff. Well, cool. We're not going to go too much longer. If you have any other questions, you can throw them into the comments for us, and we'll try to get to those. But it's been a good time hanging out. I'm looking forward. Part of the reason I want to wrap this up is because I got to go play at least a couple more rounds of this tonight. Give us just a little bit of an ETA on what is like the delivery goal. I'm sure that's already listed in your campaign, but when can backers expect to actually get their hands on these puppies? What are the challenges still left out there that you got to work on?
Yeah, so we currently have like a round of editing and quality assurance, like late stage sort of stuff, and then we're just prepping files and finishing things up when we're ready to send it out. We do want to give ourselves a little bit more time than usual, just because like I want to be super thorough with the QA in a game with 130,000 words of story and stuff like that, and also games where like there are some effects where you don't see for like 20 games. Like you play, you'll see like 5% of the time this will ever even happen, right? So we want to make sure we're getting like a high volume of tests in.
Cool.
So our projected fulfillment is December of 2023.
Okay.
That's what we're aiming for. But I know that for Teller, we have to finish all of the writing and story and final script by January, or else I'm gonna be in big trouble. So I got a deadline, and it's not just the backers; it's just
Right.
it's a contract. So
Written in blood. We got it going. I am curious, and maybe this is like trade secret stuff. Do you guys do the manufacturing for the trays? Does he design them and you guys have them produced somewhere else? Is everything coming from one company? Is everything coming from 50 different places?
So Noah has actually worked with a lot of different manufacturers over the years. I mean, he doesn't choose what manufacturers his clients use. So anytime they go to him, he will often interface with those manufacturers through the client themselves and kind of work alongside them to make sure that those trays are built to spec, that they're built right, that they have that Game Trees logo on there.
Gotta get that in there.
That branding, they gotta make sure. So he does the designs and also kind of sees it through. It's a full service kind of thing. Like you get Noah when you do it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he's I think he has some of the equipment to actually make some of those little thermoform samples, but some of the processing is kind of weird. So
Gotcha. Okay, so I put out the plea, and I got 3 more great questions. So we'll hit these as the last 3. We're doing so much writing for Forsaken. Have you ever thought about writing a novel?
I mean, I wanted to write a novel when I was a pup, and then instead I started making board games. And now I'm back to this, and I don't know how it happened, but
Full circle.
yeah, right. I mean, one of the biggest things for me was like I never like it was a very daunting thing to like write a novel. Like it's I sat down and do it, and I like write one chapter. I'm like, ugh, I'm done. I'm out of here.
Great chapter.
Right. But doing this is like it's smaller sections, so I
Yeah.
feel like that little bit of completion and that sort of thing. So maybe who knows? Maybe this is like I'm working out. I'm like I'm getting
Stretching, climbing up the steps, the music's in the background. What I don't even know. I'm sure it's not currently written for this, but would it even be possible to just take all the content you've already written, fill in some gaps, and turn it into something? I mean, is that like a
maybe? I don't see why not. I mean, there's plenty of stories and characters and weird things happening, and
yeah, need a little final plot to tie it all together, get a little twist in there.
If I ever get a day off, maybe I'll start it.
Nishant wants to know what one question do you want to ask us, your customers?
Ooh.
Got any questions for the audience out there?
Ooh, I wish I had more time to think about this
Right.
and craft a message. I mean, really, like I want to know what. I want to know if y'all have any ideas of where we should go next with this, because I mean, like these plastics. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities here, and like I think that like the sky's the limit on how we dream this, right? We want to. I mean, Noah's obviously brilliant in like these 3-dimensional things, like creating that sort of stuff. But I think that like we're really on a frontier of production here, and we don't know what we haven't thought of yet. So
Yeah.
So if you have any cool ideas, let's see it. I'm really looking to look at game pitches that use these sort of 3-dimensional kind of centerpieces. So
good. Hang around, talk to the show. I got one for you.
yeah, let's do it.
And then final question: what were some of your favorite influences, story-wise, for Forsaken?
Ooh, so so I think Travis really draws on a lot smarter references than I do in all this. He's a big reader. He's reading a lot of like smart sci-fi, and me, it's just like
I'm like watching He-Man.
I'm like, oh, power, yeah, Castle Grayskull. No, I mean for me, it's I think my biggest influences on this were Farscape. If you remember Farscape,
I do. Yeah.
Okay, that
Cool.
show it's great. I love that show. It's chaotic. It's wacky. It has Muppets. And this has big Farscape feels, I think.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, I can see some of that actually.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And also, this is an old reference to Space Quest.
I like
Yeah, you remember Space
like
Quest?
Tim Allen? No, which was that? That's
that was Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest. Space Quest.
Also a cool game. Space Quest was this old like icon clicker game from Sierra back in like the 90s.
Oh wait, maybe.
And it was Roger Wilco. He's like this janitor in space.
Oh man, you're having like things are like popping up that I haven't thought of in 20
Right.
years. Oh wow, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And it's just cheeky sci-fi where you're just this janitor and this unlikely hero. Yeah.
Oh man, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Excellent
there's
stuff.
any self-aware weird sci-fi, like that's my jam. I also love Star Trek. Big fan.
Gotta get that in.
You know. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Well, man, Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for hanging out at the house. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening. Maybe we'll try to do some more of these last minute pop in, say hi, ask question things as we're available. But it was really, really great for you to be able to come in and hang out. I had a really good time. Looking forward to trying to couple more turns in this game. Yeah. And best of luck with the wrap up of your campaign, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Stuff. Thank you guys. We'll see y'all later. Have a good night.
Thanks everyone, and especially Michael Allen Porter.
Yeah. Bye.